Space. It's really big. And as a result of that, a lot of people are trying to see what they can do in space in order to both expand our knowledge, reach other worlds, and, frankly, put a lot of crap in the atmosphere. Seriously, look up how much space junk is up in the Earth's atmosphere. It's a lot, and it's depressing. Ironically, that is the main focus of this video because a couple of entities are fighting online due to how their space junk almost collided with one another. Allow us to show you how China hates what Elon Musk just did with SpaceX. Collision course. Elon Musk faced a social media backlash after China complained that its space station was forced to avoid collisions with satellites launched by his Starlink Internet Services project. The country's space station had 2 close encounters with Starlink satellites in 2020, Beijing claimed. The incidents behind the complaints lodged with the UN Space Agency have not yet been independently verified. Starlink is a satellite internet network operated by Mr. Musk's SpaceX. Mr. Musk is well known in China, even as his electric car maker Tesla comes under growing scrutiny from regulators. The incidents occurred on the 1st of July and the 21st of October, according to a document submitted by China last month to the United Nations Officer for Outer Space Affairs. For safety reasons, the China space station implemented preventive collision avoidance control, Beijing said in the document published on the agency's website. SpaceX did not immediately respond to a request for comment from others about this. After the complaint was made public, Mr. Musk, Starlink, and the US were heavily criticized on China's Twitter-like Weibo microblogging platform. The satellites are American space warfare weapons, and Musk is a new weapon created by the US government and military, others said. Another posted, "The risks of Starlink are being gradually exposed. The whole human race will pay for their business activities." China also accused the US of putting astronauts in danger by ignoring obligations under outer space treaties. Foreign Ministry spokesman Zhao Lijian said China was urging the US to act responsibly. Scientists have voiced concerns about the risks of collisions in space and called on world governments to share information about the estimated 30,000 satellites and other space debris that are orbiting Earth. SpaceX has already launched almost 1,900 satellites as part of the Starlink network, and plans to deploy thousands more. So thus, this problem is something much grander than you might realize down here on the Earth's surface. In November, the US space agency NASA abruptly postponed a spacewalk from the International Space Station over concerns about space debris. One user described Starlink satellites as just a pile of space junk, which might be why Starlink is not exactly off to a great start in this new year. Refunds. SpaceX informed a number of individuals in India on Tuesday that it will be refunding their pre-orders more than a month after New Delhi told the firm to stop booking/rendering the satellite internet service in the South Asian market without obtaining a license. In an email to those who had pre-ordered Starlink in India, the company said it was looking forward to making Starlink available in India as soon as possible, but it currently doesn't have clarity on the timeline for receiving licenses to operate. As has always been the case, you can receive a refund at any time, the company wrote, outlining the steps to avail the refund. Starlink had received over 5,000 pre-orders for its devices in India and was looking to conduct pilots in the country. Last year, the company appointed an India head, who reached out to several stakeholders in the country to explore ways to collaborate. In late November, the Indian government told the company, which competes with Bharti Group, backed OneWeb and Amazon's Kuiper, in a public statement that it needs to comply with the regulations and refrain from taking pre-orders with immediate effect. Starlink, which had shipped over 100,000 terminals to customers, sees India as a big potential market. Sanjay Bhargava, the India head of Starlink, said last year the company had plans to deploy over 200,000 active terminals in over 160,000 districts in India by the end of December 2022. At Starlink, we want to serve the underserved. We hope to work with fellow broadband providers, solution providers, in the aspirational districts to improve and save lives, he wrote. Even as more than 500 million people are online in India, just as many are still offline. According to industry estimates, hundreds of millions of Indians living in rural areas don't have access to any broadband network. The government approval process is complex. So far, there is no application pending with the government, so the ball is in our court to apply for consideration, which we're working on, Bhargava said at the time. Our approach will be to get pilot approval quickly if Pan-India approval will take long. We are optimistic that we will get approval for a pilot program or Pan-India approval in the next few months, said Bhargava in October, cautioning that if it fails to get the government approval, the actual number of terminals it may end up deploying by the end of next year will be much lower than that, or even zero. So yeah, Starlink may have a big user base that is hoping to use it, but whether it actually is able to get to them is still up for debate. However, that isn't stopping SpaceX from going full tilt and ensuring that they are doing all they can to get as much Starlink satellites up there in the atmosphere. Set for launch. SpaceX plans to kick off its 2022 launch schedule with a Falcon 9 rocket flight Thursday from NASA's Kennedy Space Center with the company's next group of Starlink Internet satellites. In a change from previous Starlink missions, the Falcon 9 rocket will fly southeast from the coast of Florida on a course just north of the Bahamas to place the new batch of Internet satellites into low Earth orbit a few hundred miles above Earth. The mission, designated Starlink 4-5, is expected to target an orbitable plane with a tilt of 53.2 degrees to the equator, one of 5 orbitable shells at different inclination angles that SpaceX plans to fill with around 4,400 satellites to provide high-speed, low-latency broadband connectivity around the world. SpaceX previous launches carrying Starlink satellites to a similar orbit have flown northeast from Florida's Space Coast. Launches to the southeast must fly around the Bahamas to avoid the risk of dropping debris on populated islands. Maritime warning notices suggest the mission scheduled for Thursday will do just that, tracking over the Atlantic Ocean north of the Abaco Islands, before making a slight right turn to head farther downrange. SpaceX plans to land the Falcon 9's first stage booster on the drone ship, a short fall of Gravitas, positioned in the Atlantic. The landing platform departed Port Canaveral Saturday to head for the recovery zone. Meanwhile, crews at nearby Cape Canaveral Space Force Station are preparing another Falcon 9 rocket for liftoff no earlier than January 13th with dozens of small satellites from the US and international customers. That mission, known as Transporter 3, is SpaceX's third dedicated rideshare launch, hauling small sats into a sun synchronous orbit. The mission, set for Thursday, will mark SpaceX's 34th dedicated launch with Starlink satellites. SpaceX hasn't said why the Falcon 9 rocket will take the southeasterly route to orbit on the next flight or disclosed how many Starlink satellites will be on board. Dedicated Falcon 9 launches with SpaceX's latest generation of Starlink spacecraft have carried between 48 and 53 satellites per mission. SpaceX has launched 1,944 Starlink satellites to date, and the next mission will nudge that sum close to 2,000. But not all of those satellites remain in orbit. Some have failed after launch, and SpaceX has intentionally deorbited others, either due to technical problems or obsolescence as newer designs reach orbit. SpaceX has a long-term plan to launch as many as 42,000 Starlink satellites, according to a company filing with the International Telecommunication Union. The company's initial focus is on deploying around 4,400 satellites into the first 5 orbitable shells. Jonathan Hofeller, SpaceX Vice President of Starlink and Commercial Sales, said last month that the Starlink network is providing internet service to consumers in more than 20 countries. We have well over 100,000 subscribers, both on the consumer and enterprise sides, he said in a panel discussion at Euroconsult's annual World Satellite Business Week event in Paris. And we're not slowing down, we're just getting warmed up. So yeah, for those who aren't exactly happy with what SpaceX is doing right now, there might not be a good way to stop them, because they're going to be putting a lot more up there in 2022. So, what do you think? What do you think of this look at SpaceX and China and what the two are arguing over? Do you think that this will be handled with ease going forward? Or, due to the very crowded nature of our atmosphere, we'll be hearing more stuff like this in the future? Let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you next time on the channel.